The Supreme Court has decided to avoid blocking Texas's anti-abortion law, which went into effect on September 1st, and essentially allow the lawsuits against the law to work its way through the lower courts up to the Supreme Court. And I'm assuming that eventually the Supreme Court will rule on the actual constitutionality of the law. But in the meantime, the liberal justices in the Supreme Court each decided to write their own dissenting opinion regarding the decision to avoid blocking the law as it works its way through the courts. I want to read you a few excerpts from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who writes that the court's order is stunning. Presented with an application to enjoin a flagrantly unconstitutional law engineered to prohibit women from exercising their constitutional rights and evade judicial scrutiny, a majority of justices have opted to bury their heads in the sand. Justice Sotomayor continues to write that the court has rewarded the state's effort to delay federal review of a plainly unconstitutional statute enacted in disregard of the court's precedents through procedural entanglements of the state's own creation. The court should not be so content to ignore its constitutional obligations to protect not only the rights of women, but also the sanctity of its precedents and of the rule of law. Now, the Chief Justice John Roberts sided with the liberal justices in this case. And so I want to read a little bit from his decision as well. He also dissented, of course. But Cenk, I thought that Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissenting opinion was the strongest, because she's calling them out on the fact that they're just completely disregarding long-standing precedent. And by the way, that's something that Brett Kavanaugh, of course, claimed that he would avoid doing during his Senate hearings, confirmation hearings.
Yeah, well, look, we all know they lie in the confirmation hearings. The only people who pretend that it's real are the media, who are supposed to bring you the news. They all say one thing when they're in those hearings, and then they do something else when they're on the court. We've tracked it literally hundreds of times. So, gee, look at that. All the Republicans voted with the Republicans and the Democrats voted with the Democrats, even though they just said they'd call it balls and strikes. And like the most you can ever get is like John Roberts like dissents like 3 times from the conservatives. Everybody's like, oh, what a liberal. He's only conservative 97% of the time. So we knew what, relatively speaking, we knew what they were gonna do. And if you vote for Republicans, this is what you get. And so, but of course I love Sotomayor's dissent. She's right on the facts, she's right on the law. And at the end, normally it is custom for the justices to sign, I respectfully dissent. She left out the respectfully. She said, I dissent. And by the way, Ginsburg then followed and also took out the respectfully and wrote, I dissent. Because she's absolutely right. I do not respect you taking away the rights of 50% of this country. I don't respect it. You know it's unconstitutional. You said you wouldn't do it, and you're doing it anyway. And there's nothing to respect as you try to basically enslave half the population.
You said Ginsburg. I'm assuming that you were definitely misspeaking. Yeah. You mean Kagan?
No. Breyer.
Okay, got it.
Sorry for the blank comment.
No, it's okay. Sometimes we're speaking spontaneously, and sometimes we misspeak. But anyway, I do want to get to Chief Justice John Roberts and his dissenting opinion on this. He writes that the legislature, meaning the Texas legislature, has imposed a prohibition on abortions after roughly 6 weeks, and then essentially delegated enforcement of that prohibition to the populace at large. The desired consequence appears to be to insulate the state from responsibility from implementing and enforcing the regulatory regime. And he's right about that. The way that the law in Texas was written was very much intentional, because the Supreme Court ruling in Roe v. Wade essentially stated that the state cannot create an undue burden for a woman seeking an abortion, before viability of that fetus, right? And so what the state is doing here in the way that they wrote the law is, instead of the lawmakers or state officials enforcing it, they're creating a system in which private citizens across the country can turn in or report on individuals that they believe are aiding and abetting an illegal abortion in the state of Texas. And so that's what's worrying about this, because as it makes its way through the lower courts and the final decision on this is made, it's gonna be a lot more difficult and a lot more complicated to prevent this or to block this, to strike it down based on constitutionality.
Yeah. My parents moved us here when I was a kid. We didn't come here because it was a theocracy. There was a lot of places to go if we wanted a theocracy. And so thank you to the dissenting justices for fighting for what America is supposed to stand for, which is freedom. And if you ever see a right winger talking about freedom, understand that they're completely full of crap. They think my freedom, but not your freedom. So women, you will now serve us. And by the way, there's no exception for rape here.
Or incest.
So you will have your rapist kid, you will carry it for 9 months, and then you will take care of it for the rest of your life. Your life is not your own anymore. The government of Texas has taken over your body and your life because they did it for their mullahs. And I'm not interested in their goddamn mullahs. We didn't come here for that. If we wanted, we could have gone somewhere else for religious rule. And it's totally unacceptable, and it's the most un-American thing I've ever seen.
You know, there's one avenue in which, I'm curious if it's going to be used as a way of striking down the law, because the whole argument is, well, I mean, it's not the state that's enforcing this, it's private citizens. But remember, private citizens who are looking to snitch are incentivized with a $10,000 reward. Where does that money come from?
Oh, great point, Anna. Well, then obviously it's coming from the state, hence it's state enforcement. There's no question about that. And that's a great legal point. Apparently the 5 Supreme Court justices missed it. And remember, they're gonna come back to the case, but meanwhile, they're letting this clearly unconstitutional law go. But guys, the thing about the vigilantes has two issues, two problems. One is now we've made a state filled with snitches. $10,000 is nothing to sneeze at. So they're all gonna be up in every woman's business. Oh, is she pregnant? Is she pregnant? Is it 6 weeks? How the hell would you know it's 6 weeks? But they're dumb, they don't know. They're now, oh, did she have sex the other day? Did she have sex 6 weeks? I'm gonna get my $10,000 by spying in on women. Bunch of brown shirts running around, religious fundamentalist wackos, and trying to get rich and violating all of our privacy and our freedoms. They never meant a word they said. If there was an honest media in this country, you would know what hypocrites right wing are. But they're always being coddled and babied. Oh, maybe your religious fundamentalism is a good idea. Maybe we should enforce your wackadoodle ideas on everyone else, as if that's what America is about. But the second problem with the vigilante part is, and they allowed from out of state. So what's gonna happen is some right-wing billionaire is going to just file case after case after case after case. And it doesn't even have to be true, guys, because what that does is it bogs down those clinics with impossible legal costs.
That's right.
And then they all get shut, they will all be shut down.
They'll go bankrupt because of the legal fees.
And in the meanwhile, even if you were to win eventually and get them back and somehow put them back in place, et cetera, and then they've prevented abortion for God knows how long in the state of Texas, and now it's spreading like wildfire. As soon as this worked, Florida's considering it, and all those other red states are like, great, we can put women under our boots, yes, let's take over their bodies. I thought you were against government tyranny, you freaking liars. You were lying the whole time. All you care about is yourself. And so some cheeseball, horrible, greasy, right-wing billionaire man will come along and go, oh, an opportunity to control all women. I'll sue all of these people.
Right.
And again, they never care. It has nothing to do with the Bible. They've never read it. The Bible's pro-abortion. They don't care. Everything is a lie. All they want is power.
Yeah.
They don't care about justice at all.
The only thing they want free is the markets. Free markets, but oppression for women.
Yes.
And anyone who isn't a privileged male, a white male in this country, that's what they want. And that's what they've been fighting for decades. This has been a decades-long project. And they're succeeding.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get
playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.